because people are going to make their informed opinion, and maybe something of this would happen. Maybe something can happen from this. But that's all we can do is just talk about it and bring it out there in the open and raise awareness. That's all.
And that's pretty much what my goal is on this, is to raise awareness that this is a prevalent issue in our society.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Around the Cauldron podcast. It's with your man Chris, because I like to start first, because good guys always finish first. I think that's the saying. And then my beloved co-host Corey.
Hello, everyone.
Man. It's been a while since I've seen that beautiful face of yours right there.
Stop it. I hate when people lie to me.
Damn, you saw right through it. Man, those acting classes are not paying off right now. So, hey, thanks everyone for checking us out right here. Thanks for listening us on podcast or checking us out on YouTube. It's been a while since we've been doing some of this because, well, frankly, everything is on fire, and that's just kind of how it is. But
yeah,
we'll persevere through this. I don't doubt it. We're good, strong Americans. We'll bounce back on this.
Everything on fire is definitely a way to put this. There's been so much shit just going on today, and today is June 12th. So yeah, everything's been on fire, especially today. So
it's made for interesting stories too, especially with our we'll just call it what it is. Our new beloved sect. Country, the country of Chaz. We'll just dive right into the country of Chaz because that's a real thing in Seattle right there. So, whatever.
The autonomous zone.
The autonomous zone, they called it Chaz. Really? Out of all the names.
Is that really what
no joke, that's what they call it, Chaz.
Oh my.
It's so dumb. I tell you what,
why Chaz?
I don't know.
I mean,
I feel like I'm telling you,
been a better name.
I'm telling you, the moment when that hydrogen collider was activated, okay, we went into like a really bad Stephen King fever dream book. Like that's the only thing that can explain this.
Imagine a world where there's an autonomous zone in Seattle named Chaz.
Okay.
Only in the Twilight Zone. This whole fucking year has been a Twilight Zone. I mean, truly.
Would you believe we're not even halfway through? So the last 6 months have felt like 50 years. It's just so wild.
I swear the last 6 months have aged me, probably an extra 3 years.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that right there. No joke. The other day, found a gray pube. And I was like, that's it. That's it. My life is practically over. Life is over. That's it. I know you can't tell from this beautiful golden locks I have on my head right here, but that's the great equalizer down there. It's the great equalizer. That's when you know that God's coming for you. That death is on your grundle, and he's going to get you.
So if you're checking out on YouTube, by the way, look at the
dude. It looks amazing.
Studio.
This studio looks amazing.
I love it. I have a lot of fun in here.
I also have Raven.
The grand majority of my time.
I also found too. Raven Black signed some stuff for us too. If you want that on your wall too.
Oh, obvious.
I'll give you that. I just want to go to concerts, man. I want to go to concerts. I want to just. I know. I have no room. I have no room to say. The guy that goes to like 80 concerts a year.
I average 30 concerts a year, and I've gone to 2. I went to Korn and Breaking Benjamin, which was good.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It was a good show. I had a lot of fun. And Tyler and I went and saw Amber Lou.
Yeah.
Which was so much fun. I had a great time during that show. I got to meet Megan Dia, which they're good artists as well. Mm-hmm. Not the point. But yeah, I've lost
It's okay.
out.
No, you can name drop here. It's fine. Name drop. Go away. Yeah.
But like I've lost out on 16 shows I was supposed to go to that I had tickets for.
Wow.
And I'm waiting for 17 to arrive because I have tickets for this fall for Megadeth, Lamb of God, Trivium, and In Flames.
Yeah.
Which is going to be at the Schottenstein Center here in Columbus, and I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for it to happen.
I was really hesitant on those VIP tickets for Illuvite, and I hope they're still available because maybe they'll be around in October. Who knows?
I would be very surprised.
I know, and I think about it more often than I actually really should. I keep thinking about it all the time. I'm going like, is it still going to happen? I don't want whatever. So real quick, we have a serious story that we want to talk about. But first, Corey, I had a really interesting thing happen to me the other day. Okay, and I think you might laugh. So, I accidentally, let me preface that. I accidentally fingered my butthole the other day. Okay, complete accident. Sometimes you don't mean for things to happen, and they just happen. Okay, all right.
You're in the shower, you're cleaning down, you're like, ah!
No, it wasn't even that. It was way worse. It was at work. Okay, way worse. Okay, so I'm at work.
At work?
Yeah, it's way worse.
Sure
Right?
You want to put this on the internet?
It's fine. Yeah, it's
where
fine.
It'll never die.
Here's looking out for you, kid. Yeah, I don't give a shit. But anyways, so I just you know you just get the random scratches, right? You know we're guys, okay? You know you got a little scratch here and there, not a big deal. So it just happened. So there was like a little itch right here. I'm a sweaty dude, so a little sweat in the underpants section. So I go outside the boxers. Duh, I'm not a monster. So I go outside the boxers right there and give a little just a little scratchy scratch, little like, ooh, it's hot and sweaty right there. Next thing you know, puncture a giant hole in my underwear. And the second it happened, I could have sworn I saw the heavens open up and saw God crying. And it's like, you know, there's like a choir, like an angelic choir in the background. And I was like, ah, 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 ah. And yeah, I haven't been able to lick my index finger ever since. Like it sleeps in a different room of the house now whenever I'm in bed. It's just we don't text the same way anymore. It's just really weird. So a lot of riveting stuff I know happening with us in the world. But hey,
let me give you my work story then. It doesn't involve me fingering myself. So
accidentally.
morning,
No, accidentally. It was an accidental.
Or not, it still happened.
Oh, thanks. That makes it a whole lot better. Yeah, tell me what happened to you.
So I was working. My shift is early, so I work 6:45 to 3:15. So I arrive. I'm cleaning stuff. And this happens at about 7:15 in the morning, and
pretty early in the shift. Pretty
early in the shift, and I have my team lead. She's helping me out because we get busy on Thursdays. It's one of our 2 busiest days.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is hospital patient registration. I work with insurances. I work with patients to make sure that everything is in order before they get their appointments.
Sounds like a lot of fun every day.
I tell you what, the overwhelming majority of the people I check in are fine. I mean, they're fine, and there's no issues with them. But this lady comes in, and she seems a bit off.
Okay.
And I was like, what is this lady's deal? And she seemed kind of confused about the test she needed to get done. And so basically, she had to go back and forth between 2 different departments, our clinical blood lab and endocrinology.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to go into too many specifics of it just to try and shield from HIPAA.
Hello, HIPAA? Yeah.
I'm not using names, though, so I don't even remember her name for that matter. But she was confused, so I was trying to explain what the test was to her, what it would be involving, what she would have to do, and she started getting frustrated, and she just goes, I thought I was going to be politically correct today, but this is wearing on me. I was like, what? Is she slurring?
Ma'am, have you been drinking? I had a couple.
And she was drunk. She came to a blood lab at 7:15, hammered. Absolutely hammered, drunk.
That's living life to the highest right there. That's cranking everything to 11.
She goes over to endo. I go into the lab. I was just like, who took care of her? And she's like, I was like, was she drunk? And she goes, oh yeah, I could smell the alcohol on her. And I'm like, you can't drink all day if you don't start fucking immediately.
When the sun's not even up, man. Hell yeah.
And I'm just like, I've had a beer at 7 in the morning. I watch European soccer. Like sometimes those games start at 7. I've had a beer at 7. I have never been 3 sheets to the wind. Not to mention, she came to the clinic by herself.
Shit, dude.
So she either got a ride or she drove. And I'm just like, oh my God. And like, as I'm leading her, she gets her blood draw, and I lead her over to endocrinology, and she's just like, it's too bad you're a Steelers fan, a strapping young lad like you. I'm like, what is happening?
The fuck? Just once. I just want someone to call me a young strap lad right there.
I was just like, man, if you knew the amount of aches and pains I get, you would be confusing me for a 40-something.
Boy, if you were 30 years younger and I were 30 years older, ooh, doggy.
Oh, boy.
We would have some fun. That's wild. That's so wild.
Like, I've smelled marijuana plenty of times. Like, that's one thing, I guess.
Yeah. It's pretty common at, like, my work, too. Just guys just randomly coming up and they're just reeking of weed. You're like,
Yeah, like people coming in to get, like, x-rays or MRIs or, that's the one that weirds me out. It's like if they're in for an MRI, it's like that might have an effect. I just want you to know.
Listen, I'm claustrophobic, so it helps kind of de-stress me.
Like people will come in smelling of marijuana, which I mean I don't care about. It's not my thing.
Yeah,
but I don't care. But like, if you're hammered drunk, it's like that is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, there's no working your way around that. You had to be dedicated to what you were doing. Oh well.
It was interesting for sure. I've had a very interesting week.
Again, even though the world is on fire right there, you still have some good old-fashioned crazy going on. So,
Oh yeah, never ends.
It never ends. So, you know what also never ends? What we're going to talk about. Corey, lay me on.
Well,
our subject for today. I'm excited for this one. Excited maybe isn't the word. It's more of informed but questionable about like what has happened and kind of how things go from here.
Allegations have been surfacing a lot in the music industry as of late. Now, this is just seemingly a symptom of the entertainment industry as a complete whole. But it started a few months ago when Chris Hansen, and this is what we're primarily going to be focusing on, is the Chris Hansen investigation and subsequent FBI investigation into Dhavie Vanity of Blood on the Dance Floor.
Mm-hmm.
The Dhavie Vanity is pretty much an open secret. Like everyone seems to know about this.
Yeah.
I remember very clearly one time, and actually, can you see their poster? No, it's just a little off the screen, but it's actually right here at the corner of the screen. It's a poster from the Relapse Symphony, who, when I saw them, they had just toured with Blood on the Dance Floor, and I remember very distinctly. I was just like, oh man, I bet that must have been crazy. And the singer like got really quiet and he goes, I'm not going to talk about another band that I'm not touring with. And like, I was just like, oh no, that's not what I was talking about. I just said I've heard crazy things about them. But like, I wasn't trying to pry.
But it was a similar thing to when you interviewed Nikki right there. Same thing in our interview video.
I was definitely trying to avoid that topic of conversation.
But it's still kind of like...
Because on one hand, it's like, personally, I don't want to give them any like name recognition.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to feed into them. Like, fuck them. Fuck Blood on the Dance Floor.
That's right. That's right. You heard me.
And like, and we'll touch on it because when I was younger, I was actually a fan of theirs. That's actually how I was introduced to New Year's Day.
Oh
I didn't know. I stopped listening to them when I found out, though. On the other hand, this week we've had allegations arise against Austin Carlisle, formerly of Mice and Men.
Yep.
He's not been in the band for about 4 years now.
It's been a while, yeah. And
Mice and Men released a statement about that, saying that he was basically a serial rapist of young fans.
Jesus.
In his touring days with the band. Also, just a little bit ago, you would have you have Josh Woodard of A Day to Remember.
Yeah.
Saying that allegedly he had sexually assaulted a 16-year-old on tour in like 2011.
Nice job. Real class act there.
Yeah, so wow, the music industry or the alternative rock and metal scenes have been rocked, to say the least, by these allegations.
Yeah.
A Day to Remember is a huge band in our scene, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to process this. I guess just let the process take its course, and because I don't want to form an opinion on Austin Carlisle but there were other allegations about A Day to Remember, about them having like debauchery and them treating women really, really poorly on the bus. The band as a whole, not just Josh.
Not just him. Yeah.
So, here's the blog post. I actually found the blog post from 2011.
Ooh.
Long story short, he and some of his techs and manager were throwing beers at these girls and spitting in one of their faces. And then there was allegations about Josh trying to have sex with underage girls, as well as disrespecting venues, fans, other bands, and promoters. So those are the allegations going on against Josh Woodard. The alleged actions of Austin Carlisle and Josh Woodard both should be absolutely condemned to the highest degree, but we don't know if they're guilty right now. So
you're right. So I mean, go ahead.
And believe me, progressivists can be very much believe victims, and that's why I say we need to let the process play out.
Sure. Yeah, in this, you're 100% right. So to kind of maybe take a step back and kind of present it in a similar light. So, obviously the entertainment industry, not just the music, but also movies as well. This has been something that's really been brought to light. If you want to make
strongly prevalent.
Yeah. If you want to make the argument of, like the Me Too movement, people that I talked about, like, sexual abuse, sexual assault, just, all these things that's happened to them, you need to be careful in bringing these things, because the thing with the Me Too movement, as much as sure, like Harvey Weinstein and a bunch of these other people were taking advantage of these women right here, we also need to be sure that we don't turn this into kind of like a witch hunt, to where it's that you're
that's where I'm getting
you're guilty before the process is put out. I mean, that's kind of why we have these procedures in place. Just because someone doesn't make a statement or an admission of guilt, or they continue doing a tour, doesn't mean that they are innocent, or that doesn't mean that they're guilty. They should be innocent, and then these things are kind of brought to light. I mean, having said all those things, it's been very prevalent in decades.
It's a bad look.
It's a very bad look,
sure.
and it sucks because it's such a cultural thing too. In the music industry, guys are going on tours. I mean, you make joke of it. It's like, in the 70s and 80s right there too. And it's just like, there's loose women everywhere that just want to get with these band guys, and people talk about, I slept with Axl Rose, and this was awesome. Like those things. It's so mainstream when people kind of go, yeah, of course, these guys are rock stars. Of course they're, having sex with people. But when you bring it to light that it is sexual assault and rape and, assault of a minor,
we're talking a whole other
this is a whole other thing. This isn't a 28-year-old, single mom, trying to hook up with a lead singer or anything like that.
That's a predatory action if they're going after someone that young, which we'll touch on further with Dahvie Vanity.
Yeah, so to get in there, I'll briefly touch it, is, a lot of it, there's just like a sexual predator, just like someone that's going after these younger girls, there's processes that they do, to kind of make them feel comfortable, for them to drop their guard, to have people surrounding them kind of drop their guard. It's Oh, it's so scary. And for me, having daughters of my own right there, it kind of almost it hits closer to home that this can
Shit
be
can get
anyone.
scary with that.
We can't be naive in thinking that, well, this couldn't happen to me. From what we're going to touch on right here, I mean, it can happen to anyone. So
And
it's wild.
so we're gonna go into the Dahvie Vanity stuff now because this. So let me touch on where I stand with this because, like
Sure.
I said, I used to be a fan. Now this was in my late teens, early 20s. So I was a way different person back then.
What?
I was. Oh my
Wait,
god.
person.
I was
And that was like 50 years ago, right? That was like compared to this year, it's like 50 years ago.
It's about 10 years ago now. So
Yeah.
at this time, one, I was a little jackass at the time. I will fully openly admit I was
Some
just a
some can
jackass.
make the argument you didn't quite grow out of that stage. Anyways,
I'm a jackass in a different way.
fair enough.
But I had a lot of like anger and like fuck you kind of attitudes towards
Teenage
everyone.
angst.
Oh, it was terrible.
Right on.
It was terrible. And like so I had found out about Blood on the Dance Floor when I was about 19, and they were that whole like crunk core scene that was going on at the time was all about partying. It was all about being obscene. It was all about being so against the grain and against the norm that you couldn't help but stand out. That's where the scene look came from. And so that look was like prevalent from like 2005 to 2012.
Yeah, that's a pretty good. Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to describe. And I was drawn in, one, because throughout like high school, I was attracted to seeing girls, and there were a lot of them when I was like in high school because I started high school in 2006. So
hell yeah, you a freak.
I was always into like the goth girls and the
Hey, we all want a big titty goth girlfriend. It's okay, man. You don't have to hide it.
but like I was just into that at the time. So I
You're
found
still
out
into that. Just okay.
dude, goth chicks though, come on. The whole goth aesthetic is amazing, but that's not what we're talking about.
We're not talking about cybergoth. Cybergoth is my shit. Hell yeah.
Cybergoth is so cool.
That's so cool.
But,
especially with Matrix coming back. Anyways, sorry.
But what? So I think the first song I ever heard from them. Oh God, it was off the one album. It was off. It's Hard to Be a Diamond in a Rhinestone World was the album, and I can't remember which the song.
The name
was.
of that album makes me want to kill myself. By the way. Oh, that's so bad. Oh, okay. Sorry.
So like, and it was just, the whole like aesthetic and everything about it was just over the top.
Yeah.
You had a lot of these type of people. I mean, you had Jeffree Star, you had Broken Side, you had all these acts that were just ridiculous. Now,
by the way, too, Jeffree Star. Yes, that Jeffree Star.
Yeah,
that one.
Jeffree Star, who became famous off of MySpace. By the way, Jeffree Star is a whole other piece of shit, but
we'll save that for a
that
later
might be
time.
A discussion for a later time. But by the way, he's racist as shit is what I'm getting at. But
yeah,
I at the time, the first time I saw them was in November of 2011, and I was working for Kroger at the time, a grocery store chain. And keep in mind, I want you to know that I was just having like a shit week. I was just in a horrible mood. I was like, I'm off Friday. Is there a concert I can go to? They were at the Basement. And they were on tour with New Year's Day, Angel Spit. Those were the two opening acts.
Yeah.
That's how I found out about New Year's Day. That's why I've seen them so many times now, is literally because of that concert. I was so floored by them that I just kept going back. And they wound up touring together 3 times. So they toured that fall on the All the Rage tour. Then the next one was the Fight to Unite tour, which had all these other artists on it, like Haley Rose. The New Year's Day was on it again. Polka Dot Cadaver, who they're interesting.
Yep.
You had the Bunny the Bear. You had Deuce. Deuce from Hollywood Undead.
Yeah.
You had Broken Side. You had. It was a big tour. There was 8 acts on it. And so I went there. That's the first time I actually met Ash, and we might put a picture of that shining moment in my life.
That's gonna be the thumbnail. We'll make it the thumbnail. Why not?
And then the final time was the following fall with on the Scene is Dead tour, which was Dahvie Suicide, New Year's Day, Jeffree Star, and Blood on the Dance Floor. Okay, so I also saw Blood on the Dance Floor at Warped Tour that year. Since they were there, I saw a bunch of bands. Great time. Quick side note, my sister went with me to Warped Tour that year. My friend Tad and my sister went. And she was waiting for a band to play the main stage, and Blood on the Dance Floor was on the main stage. Like, keep in mind, Blood on the Dance Floor was a big deal in this music scene, the Warped Tour scene. And I remember Tad and I went to see them because Tad was he liked them as well. And we go back to where Lauren was standing back by the tent towards the back of the crowd. And after they play, and she goes, "It's kind of like a big party," and that's the best thing she could say about it.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it sounds about right.
So, I found out about the allegations against Dahvie Vanity from their New Year's Day's merch guy at the time, and he was basically if you want to find out any of this, we'll have a link to the Chris Hansen interview with Ash Costello and Nikki Misery. Very insightful, very, very interesting to listen to for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it definitely highlights the predatory pattern of behavior that he had. Now, he was saying so basically one story, I don't know if I told you this on camera or not, but it was basically one guy was looking for his sister, and some of the road crew was just she's probably on the bus fucking Dahvie, and at the time allegedly this girl was 14. There's the whole Jessi Slaughter incident, which they wrote the song off their album Epic, You Done Goofed About, which is based off a YouTube video of basically her dad threatening Dahvie Vanity. Jessi Slaughter was 10 when the alleged incident happened.
Holy shit.
And
oh my god,
he released that song as a single on her 12th birthday. Now, all in all, there have been 21 allegations that I'm aware of made against Dahvie Vanity. And he's still talking to people on Instagram. And he is still out there, still active in the world. Wow, by the way. It's beyond, with him, I'm pretty comfortable in saying it is beyond it's beyond the necessary threshold for
beyond a reasonable doubt, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's beyond a reasonable doubt with him. And
tried by a jury of your peers. Yeah.
So, like I said, Chris Hansen has been doing an investigation about this, which has led to a subsequent FBI investigation about this, about him grooming, about him physically and sexually attacking people. One of the things that was said in that Ash Costello interview was that one night on the All the Rage tour, just a couple nights before I saw them, he snuck into her the New Year's Day's changing area and choked her.
It was a Halloween. Yeah, Halloween.
Yeah. And it was, and she thought she was gonna die, and he said it was a Halloween prank.
And I tell you what, hearing Ash from her perspective, recalling that time, it's haunting. I mean, it really. I don't usually get spooked very often, but to hear her talk to Chris Hansen about like, I was pretty sure I was gonna die. I couldn't even talk because his thumbs and hands were so perfectly put around my neck that this wasn't an accident. He knew exactly what to do. And she just goes, I was thinking, this is it. This is how I go from this world. And it's scary. It's scary how another human being could act like that. It's just awful. Awful.
And that's not even including like when he was pulled off stage by the cops in
it's
Denver.
Like, by the way, that's only one of like a million other things that have happened with Dahvie.
Like I said,
it's insane.
As of now, that I know of, 21 allegations against him. We have another one where another person that Chris Hansen brought up. I pretty much have watched the entire series that has been done.
I try to watch as much as I could
on Dahvie, and it's nightmarish. I mean, I pretty much like watched like 12 hours worth of interviews.
Wow.
From just this investigation. That's not even including the Onision investigation he's doing.
That's true.
And we'll touch on him as well. That, I mean, Onision's a crazy person, but like, I guess where I'm trying to go with all this is, why do we seem to be having such a humongous problem with this in the entertainment industry? I mean, and that doesn't even include like people that have been found guilty of shit like is it Ian Watkins from Lost Prophets?
I don't know that
the
one.
guy from Lost Prophets who was convicted of raping an infant.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, and there's so many other like instances and allegations. There are convictions. I mean, this seems to be a huge problem.
So I would say if we're gonna dive into maybe the psyche of it, I'm more than happy to, because I think this is a big issue, and I think people need to understand that when they see people, when they see musicians, when they see celebrities, that the interaction that they give you, or maybe the entertainment that they create and they give you that resonates with you, is not maybe a reflection of who they are internally as a person. I think people really need to take that with a grain of salt, is that, you know, the person that you might see on stage is a character essentially, you know, in that who they are as an actual person can be completely different. You know, we see it before all the time with like, you know, actors and stuff of like, you know, it's like, boy, they're a really good actor, but they're also a piece of shit off the screen. So
Amber Heard.
Yeah. So
I mean,
that's
Bill Cosby.
What? America's Dad? How could he? No, and so I think let's start off with this right here. Anyone that takes advantage of another person, regardless of who they are, taking advantage of them, especially if they are underage and especially if it's in a sexual manner, is a piece of shit. We will not put up with that. We will not tolerate that. There's no way that you can tell us that it's what they did was a consenting thing between two adults, because that's just not true. Okay. I think we're in agreement with that. So.
Oh yeah. So and we're not going to entertain, by the way, the argument of, oh well, in some countries it's 16, because that's really not the point.
That's not the point. It's not the point. I think the bigger issue is they are, to what you're saying, young girls are being groomed and led in a way that is in a predatory way of these artists. Okay, they are knowingly going out, finding very vulnerable girls and bringing them there so that they can do whatever they want to them. Okay,
I mean, how many times did you hear a girl talking about someone in a band? It's just like, oh, I would totally love to fuck them.
It's all the time. It's
all the time. Like, especially at that age, like when everyone's young,
impressionable, you're
super impressionable,
emotional, you know. And again, we talk about these artists right here. You know, a lot of artists, you're listening to their songs in moments that you're so vulnerable. How often do you have a bad day and you turn on one of your favorite songs right there, and that it resonates with you all the time? And then you see him right there, and you associate that person with that tough time. And it's like, how many times do you see, a person talk to an actor like Robin Williams, and I was like, oh my God, I loved Robin Williams. He always made me laugh. He was so funny, and all these things right here. And then they never knew him on a personal level. Now just imagine that person's reaching out to you and going, oh my God, I can't believe this person is reaching out to me. It's like, I've loved them forever. And they take sexual advantage of you.
I mean, that is predatory.
It's predatory,
and
it's shocking. And the problem is there's a culture built around it. Because when you're touring, you're a musician and you're touring. You're not staying in one spot for a very long time, okay? Or you're making these cycles around to different cities, and maybe eventually you come back around right there. I mean, that is the perfect breeding ground for this type of behavior. Especially with the mentality and the music that you have.
I've never honestly thought about that aspect of it either, though. Especially since you're always on the road. I mean, I've heard one of the guys in Whitechapel say it's like we're on the road about 9 months out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the fact that a band can come to the same city multiple times in 1 year, I mean, that's not honestly that normal.
Yeah, but they might every 9-10 months. They might every year. And, it doesn't take much. So, on that Chris Hansen video where, Ash and Nikki are talking about, one of the girls that was being groomed by Dahvie, and it was something as getting his phone number and then texting each other and then, hey, I'll get you a plane ticket out here. I'll fly over here. It's like that's grooming. That is someone that is going to take advantage of this girl. Like, it's to her, it's the best moment in her life. To her, it's just like, I'm being recognized. I'm a nobody, again, vulnerable. And to him, he's doing it to a bunch of girls.
Oh yeah.
It's like, listen, sweetie, you think you're special, but you're not the only one, and it's that behavior just needs to be it needs to be squashed. That behavior is completely unacceptable, and especially from a parent's perspective of like, if I have my 16-year-old girl and a musician that's living in Southern California is going to fly my 16-year-old girl to him, or excuse me, it was to Florida, flying to Florida, I'm going to go absolutely not. That's just
under no circumstances is that happening.
I mean. Especially as
I feel like we'd be protected against that because we know too much, but
it's like, as a dad, I'd be like, he just wants to basically fuck you, right? Like I can't wait until my girls get to that age. I say I can't wait. I guess I'm preparing myself to when they get to that age, because there's gonna be a point where they are impressionable, and it's really easy to trick them into something like that. I mean, look at like when you were 16 years old, you probably would have been. You don't think the same way now. You would have probably been naive to a lot of things. And here you have these mega stars, okay?
I was angry.
Well, he's still angry. He's still,
Oh, no. Not like I was. Good Lord.
You are at this impressionable age, and you want recognition, and you're getting it here, and these people are just abusing you. And then I think
they get to use their charisma, and they get to use their overall presence, and that feeds into this. I mean, it's just, the more I think about it, the more disgusted I get with it. Is truly
it should trouble you. It should trouble you,
because I mean, like I said, what's going on with Austin and Josh right now, I mean, we'll let the processes play out. I mean, it's disturbing nonetheless, just to hear what the allegations are.
It's so difficult when you're saying there are plenty of other examples of how this is just wrapped into the culture of being a touring musician. I mean, no offense, if I was a touring musician right there, I would have a PR person that could document any time I went anywhere. It's your touring manager should probably be your babysitter, essentially, because it doesn't take long before someone starts throwing around, well, he did this to me, and when that touring manager just kind of turns a blind eye and goes, well, he was kind of into some of those things here and there, it affects a lot of people. It affects a lot of people.
Well, that was also part of it that kind of blew my mind with the whole Dahvie Vanity thing is that, they would be like, because bands are busy. Bands
Yeah.
have so much to do. Like we I've done multiple interviews now. I think we're up to what, 7 now?
Mm-hmm.
7, 8,
7,
9,
8,
somewhere
9.
in that range. And bands are taking time out of their schedules to come and talk to us. They have to, like, you have to do this well in advance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually reaching out to bands like a month or to their press contacts a month in advance, like, hey, let's set up an interview. I can do before the show or after the show. I just need to know in the next couple of weeks so that I can get the time off I need for it. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. And they will set that time aside so that they can come and talk to us. One, that's amazing. But bands are busy, and one of the things that they were saying is like, Dahvie really wouldn't handle any of like the load in, any of the like sound check, any of that, but he would just vanish for periods of times, and no one would know where he was.
So to exactly you're saying, it's like they're unloading stuff, they're setting merch tables, they're doing sound checks, they're doing it's like there's that show that they're going to do. There's hours and hours and hours to work to do before and after. Mm-hmm. So to have someone like Dahvie, essentially, people are going, I don't know where this guy goes.
That should raise a red flag.
What the fuck, dude?
That should honestly be a huge red flag for a profession where you're just that busy.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I feel like, on one hand, looking back, like the music isn't even any good.
Don't you just love it to look back at music in your teenage years and you're like, oh
my God. Like I listening to it now and I felt terrible because I watched another video where someone was going over the like history and discography as someone else who was into that scene.
Right.
And like I was listening to it, I was just like, oh, I remember this song, and I'm like, oh God, what was I listening to? But like,
yep.
But I will say that Dahvie himself and Javon Monroe, because that's really the only era I knew, they were very charismatic. Mm-hmm. They were and he was just controlling and manipulating everything from behind the scenes. All the while, he could just vanish without a trace for however long before the show. And
what I guess what really bothers me is Nikki and Ash talked about that they reached out to other people that were like other bandmates of Blood on the Dance Floor, and they would ask him like all these questions about what he does and what he did, and a lot of them just don't want to really talk. They're just kind of very like just very press-lipped about it. That concerns me greatly.
I mean, that could have like NDA written all over it.
It could. And
I wonder if there's like before they joined they signed NDAs.
But I don't know if you could sign can you sign an NDA for like, hey, he may potentially rape young girls, and if you see anything, don't.
Saying, hey, anything you see on this tour, anything that happens, any of the inner workings, you're not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, those are great.
I mean, and from what I've gathered from like victims being interviewed on Chris Hansen to like blog posts to other things, his legal team was strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And his this one I know for a fact, his fan base is vicious.
Yeah.
Is vicious because I would see it on Ash's Twitter after their Tumblr, after their merch guy's Tumblr post.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you would just see them like lying bitch, like Dahvie's innocent, like all this shit. And like I think that's part of why Dahvie has been able to get away with this for so long. It's just because the pressure, the legal team he's got, because apparently they're good.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a tough thing. And, going back to the Chris Hansen and Ash interview, she talks about the amount of evidence that they compiled of names and phone calls and voicemails and all these things right here, and it just couldn't proceed anymore.
Well, I
And
mean,
then
I get the jurisdictional issues, at least with taking it to the police department. Actually, when she mentioned that in the interview, I was just like, well, why didn't you try and go to the FBI then?
right. There had to have been maybe
Uh,
some other governing body that could have helped in that
I mean,
area.
they're the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
And she did a lot of the investigating, so
And she
all they
did
had
a
to
lot
worry
of
about was the F and the B.
Federal Bureau.
But it's
serious.
I know, and it's a very serious thing. But it's got to be so disheartening going. I'm hearing these girls and hearing everything they've been through, and I'm sure a lot of them very similar stories, and that's a pretty big red flag. There's not really too much corroboration going on when so many of them have very similar stories and how his behavior was and how he groomed them and how he treated them and how he was able to get in and that's got to be so frustrating to have this and saying we need to pursue this and evidence gets destroyed because it doesn't go anywhere.
Destroyed. Yeah. And that made my heart sink when she said that.
I'd be crushed. I would be so crushed. And Ash is 100% right that so many of these girls went out of their way in reaching out and saying it's like, you know what, I know this is going to expose me. I know this is going to bring me out into the open, but I want justice for this. There's nothing wrong with wanting justice. There's nothing wrong with seeing something, especially in this time in our country and in our world right here. There's nothing wrong with saying that there is some sort of injustice, and we want to bring it to light right here and make this right. And I applaud people that are wanting to do that, especially for something as very serious as sexual assault.
Sexual assault and pedophilia, for that matter.
It's baffling. I think everyone can agree that should never happen. No. And it just nothing. Yeah, he can smile away and say, well, you know what? If you try to do anything to me, I'll pummel you with my lawyers right there.
It's absolutely sickening to me. And
but all we can do is that it's like we obviously don't have any stake in it. We can have our opinion, but the only thing we can do is just us bringing it to light, us talking about it, us kind of, because people are going to make their informed opinion, and maybe something of this would happen. Maybe something can happen from this. But that's all that we can do is just talk about it and bring it out there in the open and raise awareness. That's all. And
that's pretty much what my goal is on this, is to raise awareness that this is a prevalent issue in our society, in the alternative, the metal, the core scenes, all these like.
And I'll let you know too.
With very impressionable people, because I'm not gonna deny that when I go to see New Year's Day, it's like I'm probably one of the older people there, and that doesn't like escape my attention. By the way,
Is it? By the way, are you the old guy now? Oh shit!
I'm getting to that point. Like I remember Tyler and I went to the headline show for New Year's Day in last July.
Yeah,
and that's where we interviewed Nikki, and we're sitting there, and you hear all these young girls screaming and having a grand old time, and Tyler and I are just sitting there, and we're listening to these girls talk, and we're just like, what the fuck are these kids talking about?
Once they started saying that's so fetch, I was out of there.
Stop it, Gretchen. Sick Mean Girls reference.
That was awesome.
But I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to girls communicate, and I'm just like, how can you like just, how can that be what you want?
It doesn't get any better, man.
Unless it's just the power that he's after. I mean, that's a whole other.
So for guys like that, okay, guys like that, very charismatic, very suave. They're able to. It was always easy for them to get into that group and infiltrate right there. I think it's a couple things. I think one, there is a power feel. There is having one person having that power over someone else. People are like that, and whether it's money, whether it's job, whether it's status, whatever it is, there's always people that felt like they've had power over someone else.
That actually does make sense, though, because we'll touch on this as well with Javon Monroe and Dahvie Vanity, but
right.
We'll touch on that.
But I think some of it is that, and I think for him, it's just there's just something in him that That is just something that he wants. For some people, it's money. For some people, it's like a really good croissant. You know, in his case, he wants to fuck underage girls. You know, and it's like, it's okay to want. It's okay to want money. Like, it's okay. It's okay to want success in life. It's okay to say, I want to be the biggest band in the world. It's okay to say, I want to perfect my art and my craft and have something beautiful to show to the world. All those things are okay. We're all in agreement on that.
But it's even okay to say, like, I want to have a lot of women around.
It's okay too. It's okay to say, like, women. Right? It's okay if you want to be Wilt Chamberlain and sleep with like 50,000 women. That's fine.
What a legend.
I don't know. Is he still alive? No, he's not still alive.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I just found out Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is like 74 or 73 right now. So I was like, fuck.
I'm pretty Bill Russell's still alive, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure.
It's possible.
So it's okay to want all those things. There's nothing inherently wrong. It's when we have these established laws. And again, I think all of us can agree that we want to protect children. They are our future, as cliche and terrible as that may sound, and scary even.
I mean, it's true though.
But it's true.
You don't want harm to come to children. They are the future. That you have to be able to prepare to send the next generation into the world so they can craft it for themselves.
And I think a lot of it is that we want to nurture children and we want them to construct their own opinions and ideologies as well and craft it in a way that's for the betterment of people. I think that's as strong of opinion as I could possibly make when it comes to humanity in and of itself. And when you have someone prey on someone at such a vulnerable time in their life, you're affecting them their entire life. There's plenty of data to support that it's going to affect their mental health. It's going to affect relationship health. There's so many things that it affects them to be able to get a job and sustain stuff. Their social life. It's like, like, dude, like these women now, like, you know, a lot of them are now, you know, older. Like, they're traumatized. You don't think that's going to affect them in their everyday to day life?
I mean, Jessi Slaughter says it still affects her. Well, Jessi Slaughter goes by Damien now.
Damien, yeah.
And Damien has said that it's been an effect on why am I blanking on words? Words are hard. It's been an effect. Mm-hmm. It's had a drastically negative effect. Impact on the life as a whole. So I saw Damien say that he goes, it's all I think about. It affects me to this day.
Right.
And
that's traumatic. That's trauma. That's PTSD. That's no different. That's no different than someone fighting for the country and watching their best friend, you know, die from an insurgent, you know, die from an attack. It's no different.
Trauma is trauma.
Trauma is trauma. Like, and that's so disgusting that it could be prevented. And, you know, guys like that shouldn't even be out there in the world. You know, do we attack him? Do we set better protective measures? Do we, you know, make sure that there's some sort of monitoring? I don't know what the answer is, but I think we need to maybe just look at the culture in and of itself. You know, like we said, it's been around for decades. It's obviously, even in the music, it's been very prevalent of, you know, we're partying like rock stars right here. You know, we're doing all these things right here. But what can we do to protect people? Okay.
It's a hard question to answer.
It's a hard question. We're just two dudes that listen to K-pop and metal and talking to microphones and play video games. I mean, you know, it's like we're not going to solve the world's problems, but we should be having these conversations and not being so naive and, you know, not being you know, so inept to, you know, do stuff to protect ourselves. That doesn't mean go around, you know, being a 16-year-old walking around with a gun in your hand. I mean, it should be understood of there are people like that. And don't be taken advantage. And if you feel like something is off, you know, say something about it. I mean,
I feel like that's something we need to, like, as we send the future generations into the world, I feel like that is honestly a conversation we need to have with them. It's so uncomfortable to have this conversation with people. hey, there are bad people out there, and some of them want to take advantage of others,
Right.
and you've got to be on your toes to not get caught in their crosshairs.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be anything, like you said, power with money. I mean, shit, Javon Monroe has HIV, and Dahvie Vanity was holding the money and the health insurance over his head to do a tour,
Unbelievable.
which is
Unbelievable.
which is absolutely disgusting. He said when they finished the tour that Dahvie had them do,
Mm-hmm.
Jay's um, blood cell count was, had they gone any longer, he would have developed full blown AIDS instead of just HIV. And Javon got suckered into being in that band. He got roped into it. I think he was 17 when Dahvie had him join the band.
Is that young? 17? Wow.
It was like 17 or 18. He was young at the time. And it's just weird. It's just weird to think about how, I mean, he did it with, because it was just Dahvie at first, and then it was him and this singer called Garrett Ecstasy, who pretty much stays away from everything.
Yeah.
And then it was Javon Monroe, and I don't know who came after Javon. I think it was Fallon Vendetta. I think his now ex-fiance, Fallon Vendetta. But it's people are dangerous. And me ever wanting to, like, be progressive and say, it can't be that. No, it's that bad. You have to keep an eye out for yourself these days.
Sure.
I mean, I'm under no delusion about the way people are actually shit. As far as progressives go, I think I'm one of the more realistic people when it comes to, like, oh yeah, people are terrible, by the way.
Yeah.
Maybe cynical is the word.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's like, I'd like to see the good in people. Yeah, but there's sometimes a shit ton of bad. Yeah.
But that's the point.
And boy, like I said, we could go down the fucking rabbit hole on just like human psyche and the behavioral aspect. But I mean, the thing to take into this right here is that I think there needs to be a cultural shift, just like that there was, with Hollywood and how the relationship between actors and producers and directors. I think that is obviously been brought to light. Still needs some of its working out. This is another thing that needs to really be brought to light. I mean, we're not under this delusion that this 25-year-old person who tailors towards a bunch of teenagers and is getting paid a lot of money and is not in one town for it travels all the time, more than a couple days. Like, we're no delusions of what the mindset of people like that are. And as long as we can educate people and make sure that they're aware of, it's like, it's okay to go to concerts, it's okay to have fun, it's okay to over here, but it's also okay to just know when someone's talking, when someone's interacting with you, obviously understanding what that interaction means. And obviously, I personally believe, like, safety in numbers as well, because, but I guess there was also the one story where, like, the mom took her daughter, right? The mom took her daughter to a show, and then the daughter was in the back with Dahvie. So even with, like, a parent being there, you don't know how some people are going to react.
Well, like, that's another thing. Is like the parents will go away from where the kids are because the kids will want to go get close to the stage and they want to be close to the bands. And, like, that first show, when Blood on the Dance Floor actually played, the first show that I went to, I was hanging off towards the back, towards where the parents were. All the parents were in the back.
Yeah.
And I remember, they were doing, I will never forget this because it was so awkward before their final song.
Now I'm curious.
And there was this, this is Ohio, so you have to remember what kind of adults there are in Ohio. Like, kind of rednecky type folk. And I remember
is that everyone in Ohio?
Not everyone, but
Okay.
there are a lot of those people.
Yeah, there are.
So the dad, trying to be nice, takes his teenage daughter to the show, and I remember this so clearly before they played their final song of the night, Sexting, and it was, which, listen, if you read the lyrics of that, how did I not see it before? But they were talking about, literally, Javon and Dahvie were talking on stage about coming in each other's hair, and the dad next to me looks at me and goes, "What the fuck did they just say?" And I was just like, "This is my first time seeing them. I don't know."
He looked at you and was like, "You listen to this shit too?"
Well, meanwhile, at that point, I was holding my New Year's Day poster, so I had an excuse.
I can see you. It's like as a little kid, all like not as hairy, you know, a little more clean shaven. You're like, yeah. He puts it up and then he goes, "You listen to that shit," and you're like, "No, sir, I don't."
No, I was here for the first two bands.
I'm just a little boy.
I was 20, so
little boy. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, I was 20. Yeah, so
barely, like, a man, barely.
Right? But like, you look back and you just listen to the lyrics, you listen to everything. It's just like, how the fuck did I not see it? But like,
dude, when you're in the middle of the firefight, you don't realize what's going on. You get this tunnel vision. Yeah.
But where were we?
You were a little boy. You're holding a New Year's Day poster with this bum fuck from the outskirts of Columbus.
From Pataskala, probably. But but like, you know, it's, you have parents. Oh, that's where I was. You have parents taking their kids to these shows, and their kids run off to the stage.
Yeah.
And you know, even with like metal shows, that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the parents will hang towards the back. Shit. There was one time, you know, I went to see Led Zeppelin tribute band Zoso, and my buddy Noah, his dad, me, and my dad all went. And we, my dad and Noah's dad were hanging out by the bar. My dad doesn't particularly care for Led Zeppelin, but Noah's dad did.
What?
Conversation for another time. But
you know what? Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but that is a wrong opinion, my friend. Wrong. All right.
And then Noah and I went to the front of the stage. We were on the front of the stage for that. I mean, and that I did that so many times when I was young.
Sure. Like,
you look up to musicians. Like, it's just so easy to get caught up in it. I can totally see how these kids get caught up in it.
It's no different than looking up at like a professional athlete. There's, you know, looking at someone aspiring, you know, appreciating their craft and their art, and kind of like, man, it's so amazing what they want to do. And again,
man, if I was that age, I would have killed to meet Angus Young. I would have killed to meet him.
Dude, literally. Look how awesome he looks. Hell yeah. But that schoolboy outfit and all, my God. How he filled those short shorts, man. Anyways, but it's again, even with all the atrocities, even with all the things here, which Ash said, she said between the them and that other woman that was on there was like maybe like 60, 70, 80 potential people could be in this, could have been affected by Dahvie. So it's, you know, even though we said that there's, you know, 20 some Mal, thank you. You know, even though there might be like 20 some investigations or allegations to it, that number is probably not reflected to what has actually happened. Nowhere near it. So
I mean, we're talking about someone who was at this for a long time. Blood on the Dance Floor was active until 2019.
Yeah, holy shit. So
I mean, you're talking 2006, 2019.
Yeah. And it's not like they're doing like one show a month either.
No, they're doing hundreds.
So also RIP to Nikki right there. He maybe got about 20 words in that entire time with Chris Hansen. So
I kind of want to do another interview with Nikki and ask that. It's just like, so how awkward was it not being talked to
It's like I applaud Chris Hansen reaching out to you to Nikki, what happened there, and then he'll just go, well, I wasn't really around at that time, but that's tough. That's tough, but.
I mean, it's just so dark. It's so dark. And I mean, there are plenty of other people that are pieces of shit in the music industry.
Yeah.
But that's...
And again, it's difficult to have these conversations, but it's something that needs to be talked about. Because it's the only way we're going to learn about. It's the only way we're going to learn and protect people so it doesn't happen again.
It's the only way we can do something about this. I mean...
Right.
Like you said, this is so built into the institution of music. I mean... How many rappers do you hear talking about how many bitches do they have? I mean, how many pop stars do you hear singing about making love to someone? How many rock stars do you hear talking about having sex with someone? It's sex sells, but when you're dealing with people this young, it makes them more susceptible to become victims.
Right.
I mean, music is a wonderful thing. Music is a beautiful thing. It can bring you up on your lowest days, and it can make you reflect on your life. But it's powerful, and it's influential.
Right.
And people need to understand just how strong it is to teenagers. I think that's really what we need to be focusing on. Is like, yes, of course, warn them about the predators, and it's like, but just be aware of how much influence this has on your kids.
Sure.
It's like I said, I would have killed when I was younger to meet Angus Young. But at the same time, Angus Young doesn't know who I am. I literally do not mean anything to this person. I think that's something that we need to ingrain into our kids' heads. It's like, yeah, I'm glad you found this music that you love, but like, I know it means so much to you, but if you go and you meet these people, it's like, just, you're a dollar sign to them. Or worse in the Dhavie Vanity incidents.
You're 100% right. There's
not to blame victims or anything, but I think this is a lesson that needs to be learned.
You're 100% right. It's that regardless, I mean, I get it that people are people.
I'm so depressed that I have to pull this out now. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's people have fundamental wants and needs right there, okay? And sometimes interactions with people, they might want something from you. For some people it's a relationship, other people's it's money, other people's is stardom, other people's is, fame and whatever it might be. But you don't know what someone's true intentions are. That's all we're trying to say is we don't know what people's intentions are right here, and just be aware that
they're someone's intentions until you're finding out what they are.
Right. And again, it's you look up to any star on your poster right there and go on, man, I'd love to be best friends with them, and there might be a side that you're not comfortable with. And
they could be terrible people.
They could be.
I mean,
but that doesn't
a whole wall of posters.
But it doesn't diminish. I guess going in this way. It
Actually,
doesn't.
I think this. Wait, where is it? Stars in Stereo. There
you go. Yeah.
I think that's a great example of this. Is that Stars in Stereo broke up when their guitarist deleted all their socials, stole all their material, stole a bunch of their money, and just fucking booked it.
Just gone.
That was their bandmate, and they didn't know what was going on until it was too late.
Right.
Actually, I think that's a very good way to put it. People will use you for whatever that they want.
Or I mean, in a similar thing, we could talk about like Tobias Forge with Ghost right there. He was the band right there, and he stole all this money from all the other guys from merch sales. We're talking millions and millions and millions and millions.
Mm-hmm.
And he just was like, I'm the band. He goes, I'm the band. You guys aren't the band. I'm the band.
No, I mean, they're the nameless fools.
Yeah. So if you, again, it doesn't mean that every musician's a piece of shit. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy their craft. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy their art. We're not saying that at all. But we are saying is that you don't know what don't know what these intentions are, and just be smart. Just be smart
about
skeptical. It. Yeah.
I
Heavy
mean,
dose of skepticism.
what's the line they use when talking about the police? It's just a few bad apples. Well, the end of that line is a few bad apples spoils the barrel.
Yeah.
So you really can't be caught with your head not on a swivel.
Right. Also, too, I was wondering what was up with my eyes. And I was like, I feel like I have like little sparkles in my eyes. It's my tan line for my sunglasses. It's that, summer's right around the corner, starting to get the tan lines.
I didn't even notice it until you brought it up.
I couldn't stop seeing it for the last like half hour. I felt like a cool little kawaii girl. Like, yeah, like little sparkles around the eyes, and I'm like, oh, that's a tan line. Okay. Where's my hair? Where's my hair and makeup? Janice! Okay. What is she doing back there?
What is she doing? I never know what she's doing.
But so I think this is a very educational thing that we were talking about, is informing people, enlightening. That's all you can do. That's all you can do is enlighten people. And again, I think it's going to make people savvy of. And again, newsflash: it's not just rock musicians, metal musicians. There's plenty of other musicians of different styles of genres that do this shit. It's built into the culture right there. I don't know any offhand, but I'm sure there's plenty of country stars that fucking do it for the puss. And they.
I feel like that's all modern country at this point.
That's a good point, but it's just enlightening people. I applaud. Chris Hansen and Ash and Nikki and all the other people out there that are going out there and trying to just educate people of, we need to do something, and that's all you can do.
And
until some form of justice comes.
It's really sad to think about that. That's where we are in society. That we have to like. It's just like, oh well, yeah, I know you love this band, but don't always trust your favorite musician. Like, that's terrifying.
You'd love people to just be naturally good, inherently good at heart. Yeah. But we've obviously seen that's something. Yeah. So, well, Corey, I think we're gonna have to draw this to a close here. I know I could talk about this forever. I don't know. It feels like I don't know.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. But thanks for coming on right here.
It's been such a long time. I think I should be going.
No. Like I said, this is I enjoy doing these podcasts. They can be enlightening.
More often than not, we're trying to have fun with it. Every once in a while, we'll bring out a serious topic, such as the Lena podcast we did. That if you like hearing the more serious stuff, we've done other ones that were serious, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember. How many have we done? What, 12, 15?
12. There's been a few that I've also hadn't put out as well, because either they were too out of date or just like, ugh, we sound drunk and awful. And there's some serious stuff. Yeah, probably. But no, it's when it comes to something like this that I think all of us can agree that needs to be addressed. It is time to be serious. We had a country puss joke here. We had a country puss joke there. It's whatever. But when people are actively trying to make a situation, trying to bring to light something going on, I think it deserves to be talked about and heard. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll bring it to a close. I guess my closing notes on this will be, as I said at the beginning, as far as Austin Carlisle and A Day to Remember, Austin Carlisle with Of Mice and Men or A Day to Remember and their members are concerned, let the process play out. If there needs to be an investigation, there needs to be an investigation, and hopefully that will bring to light anything that needs to be taken care of.
Right.
If there is any wrongdoing, hopefully justice will be served for that. Let the due process play. As far as Dahvie Vanity, I think we're pretty beyond that point now, where just hopefully the FBI can do something about this. I mean, I guess it is still all alleged at this point, but just let's just hope we see the end of this saga and the end of this chapter in the music industry. And I hope we get to see justice for all those women that
Absolutely.
have been affected by this person.
Absolutely.
And for every road crew, every band member, I hope we get to see justice for them as well.
For sure. That was
All
nice.
right.
That was nice. That was touching. You looked like you were going to cry there for a second.
I might.
Little sniffles. No, I wasn't crying. You're crying.
I mean, but I mean it. I want justice. I think this is a new age in American culture where things like this are taken much more seriously than they used to be. So hopefully
I agree 100%.
Benefits of this new day and age.
Absolutely. So, Corey, I thank you so much for being my my co-host here and being the wingman. You're being the Simon to my Garfunkel. I'm sure those guys were. They only cared about the art. That's it. They went up the straight and narrow, or they were pieces of shit. We don't know. But regardless,
A long time ago.
I know, right? So, well, thank you everyone for listening and watching. A lot of fun. Like I said, sometimes we want to talk more serious, and I'm glad that we could talk more serious. So check out everything, subscribe, comment below, download. We got all kinds of cool stuff. I've been incredibly lazy about getting more stuff on there, but don't worry, there's plenty of stuff coming at you here real soon. So reach out to us. If you want to reach out to Corey at all, what is it? What's a good email to reach you at?
If you're a band looking for us to get a reaction for, you can do cauldronofweird@yahoo.com. Or you can reach out to me on our Instagram at Sea of Weird, or you can reach out to me personally on Instagram, CoreyH1.
Fantastic. So, whenever things start to get back that we can do interviews, I know we're super down to go do some more and actually see a live show.
I'm trying to line up. Hopefully the world returns to normal.
Hardest working man right here. Hardest working man. Look at that. Working a full-time job right there and stuck in his house, but damn it, he'll find a way.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. We love you. Bye.
Bye.